Hey there, everybody. How are things? My name is Jake, community developer here at Oracle, and today's Tuesday. And on Tuesdays, we usually like to bring some cloud cost saving tips. In today's video, we're going to be talking about AWS CloudWatch and how we can optimize it. And the thing about CloudWatch is that it comes with a pretty generous free tier. But the thing is, once we go over that free tier, it can get a little bit pricey. And I'd like to think about CloudWatch as like two worlds, like the world in the free tier and the world once we break out of it. Because the world pre-free tier is the world in which we're just not paying too much attention to it. We're just living inside the defaults, the default configurations, and yeah, there's not that much that we need to think about. But once we break out of it, we need to be a little bit more directed and a little bit more deliberate about how we use the CloudWatch. So even though each organization is going to be a little bit different, let's see if we can find some actionable things that you can think about when you need to optimize CloudWatch. So the first thing to think about is cloud retention. We want to start thinking about, do we actually need to retain the logs for the default amount, which is to never expire them? That might be a little bit too liberal. We also want to think about, do we need to index the logs of all of the services that are being indexed? Or maybe we just want to index logs for the services that are actually being used, that are actually costly, and we want to create maybe alarms around. Maybe those are the things that we want to gather, not everything else. So we might want to cut some fat. And of course, this also depends on each organization, but in case you're exporting and sending a lot of metrics in form of custom metrics to CloudWatch, we're going to want to make some deliberate considerations around there. So before we continue, of course, as I said before, each organization is a little bit different. So we want to go straight to the source and find out exactly what we're being charged for and how we're being charged. Because if we look at the CloudWatch pricing here, we can see the different metrics and thresholds that we're going to be held against inside the free tier. But once we break out of these metrics and these thresholds right here, we're going to move into the paid territories. And more than likely, if you move into the paid tier, you're going to do so because you are going over the amount of data that is being logged and the amount of alarms that are being logged too. But definitely don't take my word for it or anybody's word for it. Go to the source, and by that I mean your specific bill. So you can find it by going over to the billing details is in billing management. So you want to just type in to the console billing and you will find it there. And this is going to be the best guide to tell you what you need to look at. So in this case, this is just a test account for us right now, but this is where we're going to find the things that we need to start thinking about. So in this case, we have a few alarms. When it comes to alarms, you want to definitely go through them and make sure that there's no redundant alarms. There's no alarms that are connected to DynamoDB tables that are redundant or not used anymore. You definitely don't want to do it. Or say, for example, alarms that are set off every time there's an auto-scaling event. Maybe you don't need auto-scaling. Maybe you're sure that the provisioned compute power is enough. So maybe you can remove that auto-scaling there and therefore remove those alarms. But when it comes to logging, which is another one of those kind of heavy hitters when it comes to cost inside the paid tier of CloudWatch, we want to think about the following things. We can go over to Cloud Explorer. We can also go to Komiser, which is the open source version of Oracle, to find the resources that are incurring cost and the resources that are being used. Also, up and coming, this is a bit of a sneak peek, but we're going to be releasing the V1 of Oracle, and there's going to be an inventory feature in which we're going to have a long list, a filterable list of all of the resources that are going to be easily tagged inside your AWS account, and you'll also see the cloud, the cost that each resource incurs with the resource ID, making it very easy to gather the information and to optimize. But in this case, let's go over to the cost manager. And here we can see in the Cost Explorer tab the services that have actually incurred cost. And this is what we want to think about when we're thinking about which logs do we want to index. We want to index logs that are coming from services that have actually incurred cost. And preferably, we want to log those indexes of services that are actually adjustable. So say, for example, if we see that the Cost Explorer shows us that CloudFront is incurring a large cost for us, but it's the data out that's costing us money, there's not really much that we can do from a configuration standpoint to change that. But we can, for example, change the size we can resize RDS instances or EC2 instances. So those are the things that we're probably going to want to index. And by that, we can see that over in the log groups. We will change these defaults to index those services that are actually incurring the cost and that are actually adjustable. We can then think about the retention period, and we can think, do we really need and maybe your organization does need to have those logs indexed forever, but in case you don't, you might want to change those the indexing to something other than never expire, to be able to save and to open up free space for more log indexing without incurring higher costs. All in all, when it comes to CloudWatch, I would recommend, once you go over the free tier, be sure that you're only indexing services that cost you money and that are adjustable, because once you do that, you'll be able to create alarms that around those services, so you can be sure to be able to take an action on a service that has an action to be taken upon. So I hope this was informative, and thanks a million for watching.